I'm going to share at least 3 commands here with you. Practice them and just make a note of them in case they come in handy down the road for you. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to use the FilletEdge. This is something that I have not introduced, but I was looking at some of the assignments that you were doing, the conceptual mass modeling. It might come in handy. So I'm going to switch over to perspective view now. And as always, I start with this box. Any size box will do, like that. So there's my box. And I did switch my view over to shaded, just so you all know. All right, the next thing I want to do is round the corners. So that command is called FilletEdge. There we go, FilletEdge. Now, under FilletEdge, I want you to make sure that show radius is set to yes, so you can see that. So I'm going to begin by basically just selecting one edge here, this one, like that. And look at the default value there. It tells me it's 1 foot. So it's going to give me a 1 foot radius here as soon as I enter. Now, what it wants me to do now is basically enter, but, and you'll see that it's 1 foot here, 1 foot there. If I enter right now like this, I get that 1 foot on both sides. But let me go back here a moment and do that one more time. And I'm going to do FilletEdge again. I'll select it, enter. Now, before I do my final enter, you'll notice that it tells me 1 foot here, 1 foot there. I'm going to zoom in and I can click right here on this, I guess, call it the center point of that radius, click on it, and I can start dragging it out and making it bigger. If I want, I could just go ahead and click, and it gives me that distance, rounding it to the nearest 1/4 inch. That's fine. Or I can click on it again, and maybe I want to make it exactly 5 feet. So I type 5 feet on that end, and I lock into it. I can come over to the other side, and I'll orbit like this. Maybe I want this point right here. I want that one. Let's see. Maybe I set that one to 2 feet. So let me click on it again and type in 2 feet and then enter. So now I've locked into those constraints. It's going to go from a 5 foot radius to a 2 foot radius, and then I can enter just like that. And that's a FilletEdge command. I could have kept it consistent at 1 foot or set it to whatever other radius I want, but this way I'm able to manipulate it and modify. So that's one way to use FilletEdge. The other way here, draw another box on the side like this, and I'll do FilletEdge again. This time, I'm just going to pick all 4 edges along the top like this, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll leave it at a foot for now and enter, and then enter again, and you'll see how it's going to fillet those 4 corners or 4 edges all at once, and that's fine. And then the last one I'll show you, FilletEdge here. I'll draw another shape like this, maybe a little bit smaller. Repeat the same command, FilletEdge. All right. And then I'll go ahead and select this edge, that edge, and then that edge. And they're all, currently set to 1 foot. I'll enter. If I wanted to, I can modify, but I'm not going to touch them right now. I'm simply going to enter, and then that'll give me that kind of an effect. And you can do this to all the sides if you want, or just a few, but that's one way to manipulate the shape and to manipulate that edge to give it a rounded corner. All right. Any questions there?
No.
All right. Let me go ahead and delete that. The next one I want to show you is the twist command. And by the way, that twist command is going to fall under this deformation tool set over here. There's a few. There's going to be one assignment. I'm looking at it to see if we're going to do it. It's going to be this follow along curve. but let me go ahead and get started with FilletEdge, sorry, twist. And that twist is, let's see, where did twist go? Taper, flow. Maybe it's not here. Oh, there it is, twist. All right, I'm not going to click on it yet. Let me go ahead and generate a shape. And in this case, I'm just going to generate a shape that something like this. And now what I'd like to do, excuse me, what I'd like to do now is twist this shape. So I'll go ahead and type twist, enter. Select the object I'd like to twist. I select this one and enter. Start of the twist axis. So what I did is I go ahead and pick this point down here at the corner, and it wants to know the end of the twist axis. So I'm going to run it up this way. I'm basically running it up a Z axis. So I click here. And now it says angle or first reference point. I'll use this as my first reference point, clicking on it, and then turning it, giving it that twist. And let me orbit for a moment while I'm pausing on the twist there so you can see what's happening. All right, twisting it this way. Let me go and show you the other views. Let me double click perspective so you can see this, what's happening from the top view. I'm basically just twisting it there. Let me zoom out a little bit more. And if I wanted to, I can twist it all the way 90 degrees like this and click. Done. Go back to the perspective view, and this is what it looks like. Let me do that one more time because I saw an option here. If I do this. One more time with the twist. Select the object. I select this one. I enter. Start of twist axis down here. End axis up there. Now notice where I can make a copy if I wanted to, but I choose not to. I can click on rigid and set it to rigid. And now let's see what happens, because the first one I did, rigid was set to no. So I'm going to click here, and now I'm going to twist it. And notice what it's doing. It's remaining rigid, and I'll do the same thing I did. Let me switch back here to a top view. Let me pan over. Right, I want to lock into it right there. And now I'm going to click. So this is the difference. This one is rigid. It did angle, right? But it remained kind of, well, rigid. And this one was twisting, bending along the axis. I just want to show you the options that are available. That's all. I prefer the look of this one, that one, not so much. Let me just delete it. But I wanted you to see that, okay? What you can do there with these shapes. And then let me do this one more time, because I basically was changing it in terms of that Z axis, but now watch this. I'm going to try something else here. Let's see if it'll work. If I do a twist, select the object. I pick this object, I enter. Start of twist axis, I'm going to go here. End of twist axis there. Angle reference. I was doing this earlier. Let's see. Can I pick it going straight up? Well, if I pick it here, let's see. Well, it's twisting it that way. First of all, rigid. No. All right, it's doing the same thing. I was trying to bend it in another direction. Give me a second. I have to think about this. Okay, twist. All right, select the object, this one, enter. Start of the twist angle here. End of twist angle or axis right there. And now first reference point, I'm going to come up here. And now I can bend it. Hang on, rigid, no. There we go. And I'm doing a bend on it in a completely different direction. You see that? It's bringing it down, and I'll stop. So that's the effect I get. And I should have maybe clicked on the front, but in any case, it's doing a twist in the other direction. All right. Interesting shapes that you can generate here. So that's twist. Let me move over to the side here. Any questions there?
No.
No.
All right. Another one. Let me draw another shape here like that. Take a look at it. And now I'm going to use the bend command. So B-E-N-D, bend. Selecting my object, enter. Start of the spine. So I'm going to click here, end of the spine there. And then I'm going to begin to twist it. You see this? Or bend it rather. Now, this one can get a little out of hand when I look at it from this perspective view. So I'm going to open up or have it show me the other views. And maybe now this one is better to do from the front, because then that makes a little more sense. You see what's happening with it. I'm trying to bend it. And I prefer to bend it just in this plane because I have more control over it. So I'm going to click right about there. And notice the shape that it gives me. I'll go back to the perspective view. So it's like taking a building and just giving it a bend in one direction is all, which is different than the twist command that you have there. And again, achieving different results. I would not be able to do this by just simply selecting the edges and trying to move those edges down. Using these two different commands makes it go a little quicker. So that's what I wanted to share out with all of you. Practice them, see if you like them or not. I want you to just know that they are there. All right, let me take them all and delete. And there was one more thing I wanted to show you. Oh yeah, the extrude curve. You know, I've been drawing these boxes and I get started with some 3D shapes right away, but there is the extrude curve, which I can generate any shape that I want. For example, I can draw a rectangle here, or I can even draw a circle, you know, and based on the shapes, it's easy enough to go ahead and just type in extrude curve on these. So I can extrude the curve, that shape, enter, and then just take it straight up. But I want you to be mindful that when you do that extrude curve, and let me move this out of the way, it still leaves behind that curve. It's using it as a template to then generate the shape. So don't forget that. And then the other thing here, when you do an extrude curve, please understand that in Rhino, this rectangle and this circle, they are referred to as curves, or they're recognized as curves. So I can click on that, enter, and generate my extrusion from it. And then I'll move this out of the way like that. So, and I moved it, I grabbed it from the wrong direction. Let me do this again. 1 second, because I want to move it. There we go. From this XY plane like that. So be mindful when you are working with these objects. As soon as you select them, come over here and look at the name. Look at what type they are. This one is a closed curve. This one here also is a closed curve. This becomes a closed extrusion. But it's really interesting because as soon as I manipulate that extrusion, let's say I take that corner there and I bring it down like this. Notice how it goes from being a closed, that extrusion, to now becoming this closed solid poly surface. And I have as a visual guide, let me select it again. I have these surface iso curves, right? They're turned on and I can turn them off. It's important to know these, identify the objects, because as you continue to use Rhino and as you continue to reference information out of textbooks, out of videos and all that, there's certain things you can do with some objects and other things that are not possible. And Rhino also gives you some warning messages, how that's not considered a closed curve, or that's not considered an extrusion, just things to be aware of. All right. And then was there anything else I wanted to show you? Maybe. You want one more bonus here?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to stay away from solids. I'm going to delete these. And what I'm going to do right now is just focus on surfaces. And I'm going to start with a rectangular plane corner to corner. And I'm going to do a rectangular plane right here. And again, I have it set to shaded. If I had it set to wireframe, the only clue that this is a surface is the fact that I can see the divisions within it. But I'm going to go back to my shaded mode here. Okay. Now, I can edit this surface. I can only do certain things with it. I'm going to hold down Control Shift. I can pick an edge and I can raise that edge and do this with it, you know, angle it. But I can also, I believe I need to go over here to, give me 1 second. Is it under View? I need to turn on, 1 second, 1 second. I jumped ahead of myself. I wasn't ready to share this, but I'm going to. All right. Control points. And I want to turn control points on. And that keyboard shortcut is your F10 key. So I'm going to use control points on. And actually, I should select the object first, but I'm doing it backwards. That's okay. So it said control points, select the object. I select my surface, I enter. And there are the control points. And there's 4 of them, 1 on each corner. Now I can hold down Control Shift and select this point right there. And when I do that, I can raise it like that. And notice how it twists my object. You see that? And now if I come over here, Control Shift, pick this one and take that up also. You notice what it's doing there as well. So this is an interesting shape, and I'm only able to generate that by using those control points. And then when I'm done, I can select it, go back over here, edit. Sorry, I always forget here. Edit control points, and I can say control points off. And then I don't see them anymore, and now they're gone, and I'll just let it be. But that's how you can manipulate a surface using the control points. And now, getting carried away, I want to go back over here, create another one. And what I'd like to do is see if I can rebuild this. Let me see if I can. Is it possible? Rebuild. Give me 1 second. Select the curve, that one. Enter. Okay. All right. Now, when I did rebuild, there's some interesting things happening here. It's giving me this point count and then the degrees, and there's a U value and a V value. Don't pay too much attention to these right now. It's just, it has to do with your X direction and Y direction. But notice how my point count set to 6, and then my degree here is set to 3. If I increase that point count, notice what's happening, how it's changing, which means that I'm adding more information to this surface so I can better manipulate it. So I'm going to bump these up to 8, and then I'm going to change this degree to perhaps more. Let's see, 4 and 4. And then I can go ahead and click OK here. And now when I select it, I can go to View, Edit, Control Points, and Control Points on. And you notice how now it has more control points. From here, I can now select Control Shift, pick this point. And when I select that point, I'm going to do the same thing and raise it. But now when I raise it, look at this. Because there are other control points at play, it doesn't treat it the same way. It's now connected to the other points. Let's see. If I take this one here, Control Shift, and I pick this point, hang on, I have to click off first, Control Shift, click on, and now raise that like this. Look at what it's doing. It's being held back, or if you will, constrained by the additional points there. Because I rebuilt this and I added more information to it, this is the effect I'm getting. Sometimes I want that, sometimes I don't. Now here, I could come over here, Control Shift, select that point. I'm still holding down Control Shift, select this one, this one, this one. Sorry, I want a surface point, yes. That one, surface point. Okay, now that I have all 6 of those selected, I can go ahead and start pulling those up. And you see what that's doing. It's creating another unique shape. So if you want practice with that, And then finally, I'll go back over here, edit, control points. Let's turn them off. And they're gone. But I was able to then generate that shape. So the first one, I didn't add any more control points other than the ones that were already there by default. And on the second one, I went ahead and rebuilt. So let me review that real quick. Let me just do my rectangular plane over here like this. And then the command to add more control points. First of all, I'll select it, edit, control points on. All right, there's the 4. I'll select it again. I'll type rebuild. And that value was a little bit high. Let's say I knock this down back to where it was, and I think it was 6, right? And then this was 3 and 3. I can already start to see what it's going to do. And then I can go ahead and click. Okay. And those are the additional points. So this one has less points. And maybe that's what I wanted. Eventually, you'll figure out how many you want to add and how many you want to manipulate so that it generates a shape that you then can use. In this case, though, watch this. I'll go to the top view. I want to type zoom extends all, enter. And from this top view, I can now take all of these and select them. I will now go back to my perspective view. And then I can raise them up like this and generate that shape. And then if I want to, back to my top view, I will select these only, back to my perspective, and I'll take that shape or those points and bring them down like this to really manipulate. And then finally, edit, control points off. And I've got some really interesting surfaces. So for those of you that were modeling some buildings that had curvature to them, this is something that you could do to manipulate. All right. I'll leave it at that. I kind of went overboard, but I was kind of excited to share that one with you as well. Any questions?
I want to ask about, did you go over the mirror board? Oh, no.
No, I need to do that.
Okay. Did we get it together or is it still just
Sure. All right, let me stop the recording now. Actually, if I include in the recording, just where we are right now are 2 rendered views really of your sculpture. That's what we've accomplished so far. That we had from last week or a couple of weeks ago. The first rendered view is using just the sun. The second rendered view is a couple of different artificial lights. And then once that was done, we moved on to the next assignment, which was the iterations. Let me see if I can find it here. I call it iterations, but it is actually the concept diagram, right? So when you concept diagram this, save changes, no. This one, I didn't really discuss how to present because I wanted to make sure everybody was in the process of generating the different views. And for those of you that were in class on Monday, you know, I gave you some feedback how to show that progression. So the next step for this assignment is to share that out and graphically represent it, whether you want to use rendered views and include the sun or include artificial light. That's going to be entirely up to you. But those are the basic 3 assignments where we are right now. Does that help kind of summarize it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions?
I don't think so. If we do have a question, like there's this frustrating thing I'm coming across, can we just, I don't know, just email you directly then?
share your screen with me. We're going to do Open Studio for the next hour and 10 minutes. How's that sound?
No.
Okay. Or I can wait. If you don't want to share your screen, I'll look at it Monday. All right. Let me go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you.